I remember a time, Cover Killer Nation, whenever White Zombie was a huge, huge deal. I remember whenever Astro-Creep 2000 came out, this was an album that, even as a young boy, I definitely wanted to have. I definitely really enjoyed what I heard, be it on the radio or whenever I got to sample the album myself. Now, after Astro-Creep 2000 came out, White Zombie disbanded, and Rob Zombie instead pursued his own solo career. And whenever Hellbilly Deluxe's first album came out, this was something that it still had that same White Zombie flavor, albeit it was a little more horror theme related instead of being semi-absurd just in some locations. I remember there being a White Zombie track that was in the Beavis and Butthead Do America movie. However, it was something that's definitely felt fresh on the radio, because even though that harder tone was something that was not necessarily all of that foreign to us at this stage of the game, Rob Zombie was somebody who was in the game already and was already making a splash, so the release of his first solo record was certainly a monumental occasion. And there was a lot of great tracks on there. You know, you think about just the singles with Living Dead Girl and Dragula, and you definitely can think of a lot of tracks that were headbanged to by a lot of people. And of course, Rob Zombie's stage show, whenever you saw him live, whether it be at an Ozfest or a Mayhem Festival or just seeing him independently, were always a great drawing force, something that definitely made the experience worth it, even if you were not necessarily 100% behind the music. He definitely knows how to make a live spectacle. Now, of course, as the 2000s have continued, he's made other albums and also has dipped into the foray of films with House of a Thousand Corpses, The Devil's Rejects, and, of course, the Halloween 1 and 2 revisitations, and recently he is going to be doing a film called The Lords of Salem. However, he also has a new album coming out entitled Venomous Rat Regeneration Vendor, which just dropped this past Tuesday, and it's time for us to talk about it a little bit. And it's time for me to get something off of my chest in full, 100%, non-scripted clarity. Ever since about, Educated Horses, or maybe even before that, the novelty of Rob Zombie for me has worn off. Yeah, Rob Zombie's solo work, his first two albums were pretty decent little ideas, and then the novelty just quickly started to wear, because I didn't see enough of a real advancement in the whole musical idea. Now with this album, there is a lot of, punk capability that is included. I mean, these are, for the most part, very, very short tracks. The longest track on this album is actually track number 1, Teenage Nosferatu Pussy, which clocks in about 4.5 minutes. But we have songs that are anywhere from the 1 minute long theme for The Rat Vendor, which sounds like something he's trying to script for the film, to tracks that are 2 minutes and 10 seconds in length, like Trade In Your Guns for a Coffin, which is the last track, which actually reminds me the most of a good old-fashioned punk song, either that or it kind of reminds me a bit of Kick Out the Jams by MC5, which was covered by, just plenteous amounts of people. Speaking of covers, though, they do a cover of Grand Funk Railroad's We're an American Band, which is done pretty well. It's something that I actually consider to be a bit of a highlight of the album, aside from the ridiculously titled Ging Gang Gong Di Do Gong Di La Garaga, which I definitely had to reference because there was no way I was going to be remembering that. However, sometimes whenever I listen to this stuff, I just get the feeling of little white trash heavy metal fans that listen to this crap and consider it to be the hardest thing on the planet, and it gets a little bit annoying. Rob Zombie fans tend to be almost like Steve Jobs fans or Jeff Tate fans, where they pretty much suck the testicle of their choice off of the man and basically believe that he does absolutely no wrong. And that's something that, with anything, I tend to have a large problem with, the whole fanboy idea. People will claim that I'm a Steven Wilson or a Mikhail Ackerfeet fanboy, and that's fine if they believe that to be true, but I'll be perfectly honest, I've even been able to, tell you guys and reflect to you guys that the latest Opeth release, Heritage, was definitely one that was going to be a grower for a lot of people, considering it was a dramatic change of pace. However, it was one that was slowly kind of being led into with Watershed. And with Steven Wilson, even though I love almost everything that I hear from Porcupine Tree, I love his solo work, and Blackfield's also very, very good. The incredible expanding Mindfuck can be something that's hard for people to get into, as well as Voyage 32. 34 rather, which is more of an ambient nature, which is all about a drug or psychedelic experience. So I can understand where people may feel that my making that statement is slightly hypocritical. However, I am extremely critical of these people. These Rob Zombie fans don't tend to be very critical of Rob Zombie. Now, is that saying necessarily that this is a bad album? It's a decent album. It's one that definitely does rock out. You know, he is of course employing the services of John 5 once again, and I don't know what the hype is for John 5, but he's not really the greatest whenever it comes to guitar work. He's pretty standard, you know. He might be able to get some inventive sounds, you know, that have come out of his amplifiers. However, whenever it comes to just, you know, basic construction, I'm not really seeing all of that much that really spurns me to really praise the guy. But, you know, he's able to craft some decent structures for Rob, and of course there's a lot of spoken word that you can assume is from either horror movies or different elements of Rob Zombie's insane counterculture. Which is, you know, downright interesting, but has definitely added and reinvigorated the prestige of the, you know, goth person, spooky kid / horror movie fanatic culture, which I have nothing, you know, I have nothing wrong with that, considering I myself am a horror movie fan. I don't know, it's just that the Rob Zombie craze wore off on me a long time ago, so him releasing a new album to me is like saying that, I don't know, Ali Sana released a new album. I really don't care all of that much. I decided to touch base with this one because the only interest that I had was whether or not there was going to be any sort of evolution. And once again, I have been, you know, tricked into believing it would happen, considering Rob definitely has the capability, at least in my mind, but once again, he has showcased that the execution is not there. The more punky overtones are definitely a nice idea. It kind of gives me a bit of a vibe of Monster Magnet in locations. Once again, the previously stated trade in your guns for a coffin definitely feels like a Monster Magnet riff, albeit tremendously shortened considering Double M tends to stick to just the hard, fun rock side that also has implements of stoner rock in there. However, whenever it comes to everything else, this is your standard Rob Zombie album. If you are a fan of Rob Zombie, this is something you will enjoy. If you're not really all of that keen on the guy, this is something that you probably want to avoid. And overall, I'd probably only give it about 2.5 stars, so we're talking like a 5 or 6 out of 10. Principally because, you know, even though it's an album that is decent and delivers for fans, it's not necessarily going to win him over very many new fans, unless these are fans that perhaps are exploring heavier music for the first time and need a bit of a guide into the more, you know, not so much obscene, but the more, you know, side of metal that explores more depravity. But it's still not going to be black metal, it's still not going to be grindcore. This is still something that almost resembles depravity for wimps whenever it comes to some of us in the metal genre. I probably won't see Lords of Salem because, I don't know, I just really don't have a reason to. But, yeah, buy this at your own risk. If you're a fan, you'll enjoy it. If not, then it's probably not worth your time.